Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Strohmeyer with Saddle Up Shooting, your host. I hope I have a good video for you today. The theme of this video is quit blaming the cotton picking scope. That'd be the last thing that you check. There's so many things to check. First, to find out what's going wrong. Ammunition, gun, shooter, climate, so many things. So don't blame the scope until everything else is ruled out first. Well, that's what we're here for today. I've got a brand new scope from Aquilifer. It is a 5 by 25 by 56 34 millimeter tube, first focal plane scope, and we're going to be shooting 4 different ammunitions through this rifle to find out if it's the scope, or is it the ammunition, the shooter, or the gun. So come back in a moment, folks. Let's get shooting. Okay, so we're going to be shooting 4 different bullets. We're going to start out with the 129 grain Hornady interlock, then we're going to go to the 120 grain Spear Gold Dot, then 107 grain Sierra tip Match King, and then we're going to go, last but not least, 100 grain Nosler ballistic tip. Now, the reason for that is to rule out the scope as being a problem. If there's a rapid point of impact on any of these bullets, it's because of the ammunition, not necessarily the rifle, not necessarily the scope, but always could be 51% of the problem, and that's the shooter. So let me go double check to see that camera's on down there. Let's go ahead and fire these shots and let you see what I'm talking about. Okay, first up is that 129 grain Hornady interlock bullet. It's a real old bullet, real inexpensive to shoot. Probably has a pretty good reputation over the years for knocking down game. Alright, so let's go ahead and give her 3 shots, find out where it hits. Be shooting the little 3-inch targets, starting with lower left. Okay guys, now let's go to the 120 grain. These are Spear Gold Dots. Gold Dots happen to be my favorite hunting bullet. It is a molecular chemically bonded bullet made by Spear. And the good news is I've never recovered one from an animal, always through and through. So I've seen what they can do on videos, but to tell you the truth, all my animals were down and I never recovered a bullet. Alright, so here we go. It'll be the target right above the last one I shot. And let's see if there's a point of impact difference. Doesn't look to be, even though that is 200 feet per second faster than the 129s. Even though it's only 120 grain, it's loaded differently. Alright, third shot with the 120s. Well, that went a little left. Probably shooter error. Okay, so let's set up for the last two. Be back in a moment. Alright, so this is my Bergara BMP. I've had it for exactly 5 years now. It is the first chassis rifle that I bought, and because of the chassis system, I've become a full convert. So again, the rifle setup, the ammunition setup, is about 49% of the time the problem with inaccuracy on the target. The scope is nothing more than an amplifier of sight. Yeah, if you're a competition person or really need to get into the mathematical components of a scope and how well it tracks and all that kind of stuff, you know, I can understand going for a higher, more expensive scope. This Achillifer scope that was sent to me by Achillifer is a 5x25 by 56 first focal plane scope. Just a few years ago, this would have been a very expensive scope. But because technology and all that kind of stuff, made in China, but Achillifer is a USA company, you know, it works well. All right, so these last two shots is going to be the 107 grain Sierra and the 100 grain Nosler ballistic tip. So let me go check that camera on down there, and we'll hurry up and get through these last 6 shots for you. Be right back. Okay, again now, these 107 grains are going quite a bit faster than the 129s and the 120s. On the box, I've got written 3,070 feet per second, and supposedly dead on at 100 yards with the rifle, this rifle, but with a different scope that I had on. So let's go ahead and see what it is now. See if that made any difference, changing scopes. It would on point of impact maybe, but not in terms of accuracy. Okay, all right, the last 3 now will be 100 grain Noslers. Now these are going extremely fast. These are going at, according to the box, 3210 feet per second. Boy, think of that on a Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, that makes it a pretty good varmint cartridge out to 500-600 yards if you're capable of shooting that far. Again, it all comes down to what your own personal ability is, not somebody else's. Okay, target right below the last one I shot. Get the parallax a little better. There we go. All right, so let's go analyze that target and talk some more. Was it the shooter, ammunition, the rifle? Lastly, was it the scope? Come back in a moment, folks. All right, folks, so here's the target. So count how many ways just the ammunition can be the problem instead of the scope. Okay, this has a speed, a different weight, a different powder. A different weight, a different speed, a different powder. A different weight, a different speed, a different powder. A different weight, a different speed, a different powder. So right there, 3, 6, 9, 12, there's 12 things that can go wrong with your rifle ammunition setup that had nothing to do with the scope. Okay, so let's go over this. First 3 shots, 129 grain Hornady, 2875 feet per second with Winchester 760. I have this loaded down so that it can work in several of my rifles. So from there to there is a ½ an inch. So from there to there is a little over 3/4 of an inch on the first 3 shots. Okay, then the 120 Speer Gold Dot. Look at the speed, 2,987 feet per second. So it's a full, 150 feet per second faster, just 9 grains less. All right, from there to there is a ½ an inch. So to there is probably 3/4 of an inch. Okay, then over here then, the 107 grain Sierra Tip Match King. This is not a hunting bullet. This is a long range, high ballistic coefficient for speed, lightweight bullet in the 6.5 Creedmoor. So here we are, 3,070 feet per second. And what did that do? From there to there, I don't know, probably 3/4 of an inch or less. All right, so now the 100 grain varmint bullet, ballistic tip, 3,213 feet per second using Varget powder. So a faster burning powder even than these others. So that in itself should cause a malady. But it did not. And that's just probably a little over a ½ an inch. So again, here's shot placement. So if you're chasing this with your reticle and constantly making changes, you're kind of defeating the purpose. Unless you're going to use a specific bullet for a specific purpose. So, for example, 120 grain Speer Gold Dot. Feel totally comfortable taking a deer out to 400 yards with that. 107 grain TMK. Feel perfectly confident trying to take a varmint out to 500 yards with that. And then the 100 grain, well, that's in between these others. The 129 grain is closer to the 140 grain if you need a little bit more horsepower. All right, folks. Well, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment if you will, and check your subscriptions, please. Check that notification bell for my for my upcoming videos. All right. But no matter what, God bless y'all. See you again next time. Goodbye.